What's up guys, it's Greed here. And today, I'm going to give you some basic tips and tricks to make you better at PUBG Mobile. And for the record, I'm not a pro player. But here are some things I learned watching pro gamers like CHOCOTACO, ATHENA, PANDA, and Zen Pro Gaming. And so, I can assure you that pros use these tips most of the time, only faster and better. Without further ado, let's roll the intro. Tip number 1. Don't rush unless you have the better gun. In this situation, I know that the enemy has a shotgun. And so I kept my distance and baited him to fight me where I have the advantage. For my second tip, be suspicious of unparked vehicles. Most spawn vehicles are parked near the road, and so, if you spot a vehicle smashed into a building, stay alert as an enemy or enemies are nearby. Tip number 3. Don't travel long distances on foot. Always use a vehicle. This is especially true to all maps except Sandhawk. Maps like Bikandi, Erangel, and Miramar has a lot of open spaces. And in a game like PUBG, open spaces usually mean death, as you can be easily sniped or sprayed when running without cover. And also make sure that your vehicle is not heavily damaged or low on gas. And once again, in this situation, I spot a misplaced vehicle. I am now alert and ready for a fight, which brings me to my next tip. Don't fight fair. This time, I used the terrain to my full advantage. I parked the vehicle where the enemy can't see me, but I can see him. This way, I can initiate the fight whenever I want to. Tip number 5. Always carry smoke grenades. Smoke grenades the best grenade in the game. You can use it offensively by hiding your position when you're pushing, or use it to distract the enemy while you are flanking. But smoke grenades are primarily used in defense. You can use it to cover your teammates who are knocked down, or to loot safely in an open space. Tip number 6. If you're caught in the open, fight first, then run. Your primary goal is not to kill the enemy, but to scare him off while you make your escape. Always remember not to make yourself an easy target. This tip is applicable only to close quarters combat, because when you're being shot at a long range, your only option is to run in zigzag, or you'll end up dead like this guy. Tip number 7. When the safe zone is getting smaller, try to memorize where the gunshots are coming from. Make it a habit to look at the minimap when you hear a gunshot. This information will be useful to us in the late game. Tip number 8. When sniping an enemy, aim with your crosshair and not with a scope. So what you'll do basically is, try to align the enemy as close as possible to your crosshair before opening the scope. This technique will reduce the time of you standing still while trying to scope out the enemy. If you stand still for too long, other players might snipe you instead. Here's another example. I align the enemy with my crosshair and use the scope when I'm ready to shoot. And now we're entering the late game. Scout the area where you think the enemies are hiding. Look for tiny pixels moving across your screen. Can you spot where the enemy is? And there's our next tip. Prone only when you need to. Proning will make you an easy target for snipers, especially at long range. If you believe that you're hidden behind a tall grass, forget it. In games like PUBG Mobile, grasses don't render at long distances. Tip number 10. If you hear an enemy approaching, try to mark the direction of his footsteps using your crosshair. This way, your crosshair is already on him when you're ready to shoot. This tip is similar to tip number 8, but this time, it's only applicable on close ranges. Tip number 11. Pay attention to the circle. In this situation, I'm pinned near a cliff. Although I have a favorable cover, I'm still outside the circle. And so I must make a decision whether to fight him or escape as quickly as possible. Now is also the best time for me to pop a smoke. This will significantly reduce the enemy's line of sight when I make my escape. And for my last tip, don't forget to check the number of players alive. Since there are 3 players alive, I know that I have 2 enemies left. This information tells me that there's 1 player still hiding out there. Getting scared at this part of the game is totally normal. The only way to calm your nerves is to keep playing the game aggressively. You may not win a lot of chicken dinners, but you'll gain confidence and experience a lot faster. If you find this video helpful, click like, hit subscribe, and follow my Facebook page by clicking the link below. And please enjoy the rest of the video.